Welcome to Open Up Relationships. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We regularly upload high-quality videos. You can like this video to support the channel. Now let's head to the video. r/seeking advice. Recently found out my wife of 10 years cheated on me when we were dating. We had been together for 2 years, and she was still a virgin. She saw this guy for a month, and lost her virginity to him. Sorry, I'm new here, and I posted it on a different community page, before I realized this one existed. My wife and I started dating in our early 20s. I had just met her, right before I graduated from college, while she still had a couple of years left. After dating for a while, I took a job about an hour away that had me working long hours. We weren't able to see each other as much as we had liked, so after a little over a year decided I needed to find another job. I ended up finding a job closer to her, and we decided that I would move in with her and her roommate. The only drawback was I would be starting out on night shift until a first shift opportunity was available. I figured it was worth the hassle, because I would be living with her now, and would still be able to see her more than I was before. At the time of moving in, I felt things were going great. She had never said or done anything to make me feel otherwise. After 2 months of this new arrangement, I came home from work one night and she told me that things weren't working out. I was completely blindsided and heartbroken. I was also somewhat angry after all of the sacrifices I felt I had made, so I grabbed what belongings I could and left. I ended up moving in with a co-worker. I was still pretty confused and felt like this breakup came from out of nowhere. At first, I honestly felt like we would be back together within a week. I mean, we had been together for 2 years, and before I started my job on second shift, things felt really good between us. I guess I just attributed whatever was going on to me being on night shift, and not being around as much as we had hoped. Anyway, she pretty much cut off contact with me as she wouldn't answer my calls or return my texts. I still had a few things at her house, so I did talk to her a few times, when I would show up to get my belongings. I let her know that I still wanted to work things out, and the few times we talked I thought the conversations went okay. She never mentioned anything about seeing somebody else. A few weeks later, I happened to see her out with another guy. I really debated on what to do, but I ended up texting her, and asked if she was seeing somebody else. She replied yes, and that she was moving on with her life, and that I should do the same. That was a tough pill to swallow, but at the same time it at least gave me some closure. A couple of weeks after this, I saw her at the gym, and avoided her the best I could. She ends up texting me a couple of days later. We end up talking over the next week or so, and she tells me she wants to get back together. I was weary, and took things slow after this. I kept waiting for her to come to me about, and open up about why she had left me. That never happened. I grew frustrated, and questioned her several times about why she left me, and about the guy she was seeing. She said that it was nothing serious and multiple times denied having sex with him. I eventually felt comfortable enough with everything she said, that we were able to be serious again, and we started having a sexual bring it up again. Fast forward up until a few months ago, and we have a beautiful life together. We have 3 children and we both enjoy our careers. Our relationship got back on track, and has been amazing for the most part. We have been married for 10 years now. That being said, I've never fully been able to let what happened go. The fact that she never came to me, and opened up about it, and that when we got back together, she acted as if nothing had ever happened, still just didn't feel right to me. I looked at what our life had become, and where it was going, and always decided against bringing it back up. That is until I found out a coworker was going through something similar to what I had. I took this as a sign that maybe it was time to revisit things. I laid awake in bed one night waiting for my wife to come in. When she did, I told her how I was feeling. That I loved our life, but how things had gone earlier in our relationship still kind of affected me to some extent. She seemed surprised at first that I would still be bothered by it, and then she started crying. I felt like the bad guy for bringing it up after all this time, and I thought maybe if anything just getting off my chest that it still bothered me would be enough. She didn't really say a whole lot that night, and it felt awkward to talk about it, so I didn't push the conversation too hard. I thought maybe she would come to me and open up about things since she knew that it was still bothering me. A couple of weeks had passed and nothing. I waited up for her again and asked her to start talking about what had happened. She went into detail how it was hard because of my job and our schedules. She had a couple of friends she would go out with regularly, and I guess one night a guy they met became interested in her, and she said it felt good to be noticed. Sounds like they ended meeting up several more times over the next couple of weeks, and got to where they would be making out with each other at the end of the night. I guess this is when she told me that it wasn't working out between us anymore. I continued asking questions, and I asked her 3 times if she had sex with him before she finally admitted to it. When we had first started dating, she had told me she was a virgin, and I totally respected that. We still had our fun in the bedroom, but I didn't want to push her into sex, and figured when she was ready or if she wanted to wait until marriage, I was willing to wait. From early on in our relationship, I felt like she was the one. I know over 10 years has passed since then, and she has been an amazing wife and mother since, but I still can't help but feeling betrayed. It's hard to look at her the same now, knowing that she could ever do that to someone she says she loves, and then to keep it from me and lie about it the way she did. Sorry for the novel, but I just felt like I had to air this out somewhere. We are in the process of setting up couples therapy. Any advice is welcome. A few months later we found out she was pregnant and we moved into our own place. She was about 6 months along when, for the first time ever, I looked at her Facebook page and found a bunch of pictures of her with a previous guy. There was an album dated within a week prior to her breaking up with me. I questioned her about that when I got home, asking her why she left out that she cheated on me prior to breaking up, and then went over all the same questions again. She didn't offer up much of an explanation and answered all the other questions the same. And this was probably the first time I ever saw her cry. I felt terrible because we were about to have a child, and I was putting her, and me, through this. I told myself that I would never. Here are top replies. You can't help how you feel. She went and broke your heart for a guy she had the tingles for, then came back, and you were plan B. That excuse of we were broken up is just that. An excuse to go do whatever. She got used, and then she came back, and lied by omission. This is all fresh for you. I do not blame you one bit for how you feel. She broke your heart, and you never got over it. She damaged you, and got away with it. Shame on her. It's pretty gross that your GF let you move in, started seeing another dude, before she kicked you out with nowhere to go. She then absolutely minimizes your feelings when you see her out with said guy, and said something pretty harsh to you. She then has sex with this dude in less than 2 weeks together, and you had waited 2 years. You get back together, and she proceeds to lie to you the next 10 years. Every time you ask questions, she starts to cry and make you feel guilty for asking to distract you from actually getting an answer. You continue to ask. She continues to lie and cry. She sounds very self-centered and cowardly. Good mother or not, your relationship is based on lies. I wouldn't be able to look at myself after learning all of this. She won't even take responsibility for what she did to you. Has she even apologized and meant it? Can you be sure she hasn't stepped out on you again at any point during the relationship? My wife also lied to me about her betrayals while dating, and I found out after 15 years of marriage. I also suspected she cheated, and she repeatedly lied to me until I began discovering evidence. I'd had no support. She withheld details, blame shifted, trickled the truth, rug swept, and virtually everything an involved person should not do if they're hoping for complete reconciliation with their mate. It was awful. Among the precious few people I told, I heard, "That was so long ago. That was before you married. I'm sure you did things to hurt her too. You've got to let it go. Bringing up the past will only hurt." And so on. Regardless, I was deeply hurt, and felt trapped in a marriage I would not have chosen, had I known the circumstances. I felt like Plan B. I wrestled with intrusive thoughts and comparisons. I found I couldn't concentrate on anything, because I was constantly trying to reconcile my understanding of our history with reality itself. It's incredibly taxing physiologically and emotionally. I'm still not recovered completely, nor do I think I'll ever be able to trust my wife again. I elected to stay for many reasons. Things are tolerable now, thanks to MC, that has helped me grieve countless losses properly, as well as small group sessions with other betrayed men. My wife has made remarkable strides in her own healing from past trauma, conflict avoidance, unhealthy sexual attitudes, and her tendency to spiral in shame and guilt and self-humiliation. I share all this to say, I can see you are hurting, and to caution against giving any credence to anyone who's minimized your pain. What you're both experiencing is terrible, and I'm sorry for both of you. This is the consequence of not dealing with problems early. There is hope for her healing and yours. Your children will appreciate the work you're both doing to save your marriage. By and large, your wife needs to be the one to lead reconciliation, which may be a role reversal for both of you. She needs support, and you're probably not the best person to help her when you need to put your oxygen mask on first. I'd encourage you to find an MC trained in Gottman methods and experience with recovering from infidelity. I also found affairrecovery.com courses and videos to be helpful along with these subreddits. I hope this helps. Every new discovery along the way, no matter how long it's been, reopens the wound, and it's like it never healed or new to you, and the feelings are unresolved. It's called rug sweeping, and she allowed this, but the dirt was still under that rug, and not cleaned up to build upon the relationship. She needs to understand this. Flip the script. Had it been you with another girl, how would she have felt? I think a good marriage counselor may help you both, and your wife needs to stop the tears and face the reality. Fact is, other than this that happened prior to your marriage, she has been faithful and loving, and you have a good relationship. You need to let these feelings out too. She needs to be there for you to express them and know that she should have dealt with this years ago. It's going to be hard, but it also might be salvageable.